honored if you would join us.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. I can't hear myself. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Awesome. It's probably because I'm so loud.
It's also because you're right next to me.
Yeah. We should just start out before we say anything else that if you have not seen Avengers Endgame yet, we will be spoiling the hell out of this movie. So go ahead.
Yeah, we're not going to try to edit ourselves here
Yeah.
because, I mean, why bother?
Yeah, it's no fun
Why
to talk about
bother?
it. I mean,
Yeah.
half the fun of this movie is that you get to talk about
We're
it.
only going to get to talk about this once, right? So,
Right. Yeah. It's not happening again, at least for not very
Not
long
between
time.
us, anyway. We're probably not going to get a chance to talk about it. I mean, we could
Yeah.
talk about it again next week, but we don't want to do that. There's other stuff to talk
Yeah,
about.
you can't stretch it for too. I mean, there is more stuff coming out right down the street. So
I'm so sick of talking about Endgame already.
yeah, you always get that way. Like as soon as the movie
Yes.
comes out, you've been talking about it so much, but I guess
Yes.
writing about it every day doesn't help.
Yes,
But
I am sick to death of it. You know, this happens for every Marvel movie, every Star Wars movie. It comes out, and then it's day after day after day, whether it's on the site, punchdrunkcritics.com, for those of you who don't know, or for one of our other outlets, you know, it's like everybody wants to hear what you have to say about Avengers Endgame.
right.
And I am just, you know, it's now Sunday, and it's been about, 5 days, 'cause we saw it on Tuesday. It's been like 5 days of talking about it, and I'm ready to move on.
I've still got some of the
Ready to
juice in
move
me
on.
just because I haven't seen it again yet. I think the second viewing is where I start to tune down on it. But it's needless to say, there are going to be plenty of spoilers here. So if you haven't seen it, turn off the
Yeah.
stream, go watch the movie, and come back and check the archive out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, we're definitely gonna talk about it. Let's start off first though by talking about what it did at the box office this weekend.
Holy hell!
Because, you know, they're projecting between 800 million to $1 billion
Worldwide,
It went
right?
yes, worldwide, of course. If that was domestic, that'd be nuts.
Mhm.
But it actually surpassed those numbers, 1.2 billion. I mean, when I was doing the box office breakdown for the site today, it was crazy. You know, they had the number 1 and number 2 movies because Captain Marvel has gotten this tremendous bounce
Oh,
from
yeah, yeah,
people going to see it before they go to see Endgame, which is interesting because I think she's like the least well-handled
yeah, that's gonna be
character
surprising for
in
a
the
lot of
entire
people,
movie.
I think.
But whatever. But they're both at over $1 billion right
Yeah.
now. You know,
I mean,
And,
Mickey Mouse is
no, it's
literally
crazy.
able to do that thing that
Mickey Mouse is shitting money.
that Scrooge McDuck did. Like he's literally got that vault that he can jump into and
Oh,
swim
and just
through now.
dive in like Scrooge McDuck.
Just for Marvel. It's ridiculous. I mean, I think that's one of the few things about Endgame. There are my thing talking about it has always been that the first 2 acts are really good. The third act is downright amazing. I mean, there's problems in the first 2 acts. One of which you mentioned earlier, and I don't know that it's really a problem.
It's
but
not a problem. She's not a problem. I think
Yeah.
she was kind of. Well, let's remember how the Captain Marvel character was handled in this.
Yeah.
Endgame was shot before Captain Marvel was shot.
Right.
So Brie Larson had really no idea how to play the character yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Feet weren't even wet. Yeah.
right. So it kind of makes sense that you kind of keep her at a distance in this movie.
Yeah.
But when she does pop up, she's kind of, I called her like their Deus Ex Machina. She's kind of their get out of jail free card.
Yeah, yeah.
you
When
know.
everything's getting ready to go to crap,
Yeah,
then she
the-
shows
oh,
up
here
and
she
we're
comes.
okay. Yeah.
yeah.
But I didn't even really think they gave her that. Like I think that's the disappointment a lot of people get is that you know, we were kind of hyped going into this, whether rightly or not, that she is going to be the X factor in defeating Thanos. And in some ways she was certainly, but not any more so than certain other people were.
No, I would agree with that. She
Yeah.
was not the. Yeah, she was built up to be like the one who turns the tide.
Right.
She's really not.
Yeah. Well,
doesn't-
she
she
kind of
doesn't-
does because she does one thing nobody else there could have done, and that's take out a
You
spaceship.
know who really turned the tide? Ant-Man.
I was going to say Ant-Man. Yeah.
Ant-Man turned the tide.
Right.
If Ant-Man didn't come back, there's no plan.
Oh,
There's no
absolutely.
plan
And I
at
still
all.
can't believe they actually went through with him crawling up Thanos' butt and then expanding. I mean, I didn't see it going that way.
Yeah,
I didn't think.
you wish. Yeah, you wish that was
That's
how it
going to be the weirdest of all of the world we live in today, where there's fan theories for everything. That's going to be the weirdest one that ever had traction, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, she comes in, she takes out Thanos' mothership, which is something nobody else could have done. So I guess in that way she turned the tide. But other than that, other than looking really, really cute, for something about, and that's a horribly...
You liked her with that short haircut.
I did, but I also liked her in the very beginning when she showed up in the scene we've seen in the trailers. And by the way, I'm completely aware how sexist this is, that I'm reducing this amazing interstellar character to how cute she looked, but forgive me. I've heard enough people talk about Thanos, not Thanos, Thor. But, when she comes in and Thor first meets her, she goes, I like this one. That's a horrible Thor, but you know what I mean? Like, she looked really hot right there. I thought so.
Well, Brie Larson is pretty hot. So.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, I kind of liked her with the short hair too. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so what are your overall impressions of the movie? You've seen it once. What are your overall impressions of it?
I mean, I think, again, the first 2 acts were really good. That last act, if you could create a 3-hour movie with the same kind of emotional depth and draw and tension as that third act, you'd probably send people to the hospital with heart attacks. But I thought it was a very good ending to the Infinity Saga. I think one of my main depression triggers from this was that even though they've said it 100 times, I never really saw this as the end of something. It just seemed like another Marvel movie to me until I got out of it. I was like,
got louder in my head. Interesting.
Yeah, well, yeah. And
Might be Drew's tinkering back there.
I think he is. In my headphones, I can't hear anything. So, sorry, you're good. I never really processed that it was actually the end of something. And damn sure enough, when this movie's over, the cinematic universe is markedly different, and heading on a way to a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
New playing field even.
Yeah. It was interesting when I first got out of it. And I told this story yesterday at AwesomeCon. I did a panel at AwesomeCon yesterday. Yeah. And one of the ways that I started off the thing, because I wanted to get people engaged early, was by saying the one thing I knew everybody would be engaged about was saying, "Who here saw Endgame?"
Right.
So everybody wanted to talk about that first. But I told this story, about how when I first got out of Endgame, everybody was, glowing. It's fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. And then I got asked about it in the elevator. And I said, "Yeah, I liked it. It's good."
Yeah.
And the next question I got was wrong? What didn't you like?
Yeah. Why aren't you popping out of your skin to tell us about it?
I was like, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm not, doing cartwheels over this thing.
You're not in love with it. Yeah.
Right. And that was one of the things that really annoyed me about the reaction to it from the world premiere on Monday. Was everybody's, because I always hate instant reactions from critics at stuff like that, because one, you've been invited to this glitzy world premiere, which, hey, I've been to them. I know how you feel. Right. And you're always over the top. But this is amazing, and that's how everybody was.
It's like going to a fancy dinner party and telling the host that their food sucks. You can't do that.
Right. So, and although that's how all the reactions were, and then when I got out of the movie, I was kind of like, it's good, but it's got flaws. Yeah. It's got flaws. And, one of them was the Captain Marvel thing that we mentioned. Another thing was I thought the first half was, not that it was bad, it was just, I think it was slow. Mm-hmm. And it felt like after there's a rather shocking death within the first 15 minutes of the movie. Yeah. That's one thing I guess I won't spoil. We don't really need to. He knows what I'm talking about, so I don't really need to go into detail. But after that, it takes a while for it to regain its footing.
Yeah, it really does.
Because it's kind of like, okay, so this, and seeing it the second time, I felt that even more, because the crowd was also like, what the? Yeah. So wait, what's going on? And then they were kind of like, you could feel like this sort of drag for a little while after that. And not to say that those scenes in between weren't good. There were great individual scenes before it finally gets going again, But for a while there, it kind of slows down.
And it was a weird choice, too, because really what you get in the first, 20, 25 minutes of this movie is more or less an epilogue to the last movie. More so than a start to a new movie. And then you start with the movie proper. And it really...
I remember which button it was to get that stuff off of there. What did I hit last week?
I don't know.
I forgot which one it
Drew.
was.
What do we hit to get back to?
Push Showtime again.
Oh, push
That's
Showtime
what it
again.
was. I couldn't remember what it was.
Didn't want to turn the lights off.
I did it last time, and I didn't have the nuts to do it again
Hey,
this time.
we are getting much better at this show. 3 weeks in, and we did not talk for
I don't know why I
20
had the-
minutes on the.
I don't know why I had the sand to do it before, but this time I was like,
It's one of those,
I
you
don't
feel like
wanna
you hit the button, the whole thing's going to shut off, and then we're screwed.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, really the first part is like an epilogue to the last part, and feels like it's a strange way it's laid out. But I think the other most divisive thing about this movie, and it's something I'm still not sure how I feel about, is Fat Thor. It has nothing to do with his weight, obviously, but time out.
Yeah. You said, I don't know how I feel about Fat Thor. It has nothing to do with his weight. Obviously, it does.
Well, I mean, no. Okay, yeah, it does, because Thor should be the god of thunder.
I know you're trying to be nice.
Let me just say,
but you're not
depressed
offending
Thor.
anybody by talking about Fat Thor.
Right.
He was Fat Thor in that movie, and they didn't hide the fact that he was Fat Thor in that movie.
Right.
They called him Lebowski, for Christ's sake.
They did.
Okay. They said he looked like melted ice cream.
Okay.
So it's okay if you want to say, call him Fat Thor. It's
all right,
fine.
so Fat Thor or Depressed Thor, whatever you're going to do. I mean, they laid this out in Infinity War in that brilliant scene where him and Rocket are talking. He's like, "Oh yeah, I had to kill my sister, and she killed my father, and Thanos killed my dad and my best friend." And like goes down the list, and then you have Thor here who has not been able to get the revenge that he wanted, or maybe he has, and it just hasn't given what he wants.
No, that's not even it, really. Though, really, was it?
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. But, well, maybe we saw it a little bit differently, not that much differently. It seemed like the thing that really got to him was that because he did what he set out to do, which is kill Thanos.
Right.
But it wasn't able to stop anything. And after he did it, I mean, he was just kind of standing there like.
Yeah, it didn't provide him any relief that he was looking for. None of that feeling
he was
that people
useless.
think they're going to get.
He was useless. He's just a guy with an axe. And he
Oh,
says
okay.
he kind of says it himself. He's like, I'm just a guy with an axe.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't able to actually do anything. Like he couldn't affect the change by just swinging his axe.
Right.
So what else is he gonna do?
That makes sense because that chips into something that's later with his character arc in this is about being who he wants to be and not who everybody thinks he should be. Right. And so because he's not able to be who everybody thinks he should be. Long story short, he's playing Fortnite with Korg and Meek from Ragnarok.
That was fun.
Hey man, let's play some Fortnite, man.
It was a good way to.
Yeah.
It was a good way to bring them back.
Yeah, it was.
It was
Which I thought was the one of the best but strangest transitions is they just kind of drop you into New Asgard, which is
that whole
like
sequence,
a fjord in Norway.
That whole sequence was bizarre, and I was explaining that to a friend yesterday, how bizarre that whole sequence was because right before that is the scene where we're reintroduced to Banner and how he is.
Oh yeah,
he's completely changed. The whole thing is really quirky and offbeat for about 20-30 minutes.
Yeah.
This is not long after the death that we're talking about.
Right.
And the movie is just kind of in this weird place where you're like, where is this thing going?
That's really like the Ragnarok extension, the Hulk and Thor intros, and it does feel a little funky.
And I could tell the crowd and, like I said, the second audience, the non-critic audience.
Yeah.
They always feel differently when you go to a screening.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Especially with a screen that was just critics for the most part. You could tell that people were kind of like, I don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah, this doesn't feel. Well, see, that's one of the things is like it was so light, and I think this is one of those movies. Number one, I like this movie.
Which I appreciate it more the second time, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the second time I'll see it, I'll like it more. And as the time went by, I started to be to really appreciate it more. But on the initial viewing, you're expecting this Endgame. You're expecting 3 hours of
fights with Thanos.
Yeah, fights with Thanos and high stakes. And then you end up in this scene where you have Professor Hulk taking selfies with a kid walking by, and it kind of feels off. You don't feel like you're in the right place. But what did you think about that? I know I was with my wife Angela when we saw it, and I had to look over at her and say, "What's
You're
wrong
married?
with this?" Yeah.
What?
I mean,
I don't
it's an
believe it.
open situation.
I don't believe
I'm
it.
just kidding. She's watching this right now. I'm
Yeah,
joking,
she's
honey.
right.
It's
News to her, she says.
when you first see Professor Hulk, like I said, spoilers, everybody. So if you haven't seen it, bounce.
We're spoiling.
Come
'cause
back
we don't
later.
care. We're spoiling.
But you see Professor Hulk, so Banner's essentially mastered he and the Hulk have come to an agreement where they're kind of half and half. And the Hulk is huge, but now he looks like Banner, talks like Banner. But something about the CGI in it just didn't look right to me at first.
Oh, I don't know. I thought I didn't have any problems with that. Really, it didn't really bother me. I thought he looked good for what they were able to accomplish there, for what they were doing.
Yeah,
I thought it looked really good.
It's just, I mean, the first couple minutes was just odd. Maybe I was getting used to what Hulk usually looks like and what he looks like now. But yeah, you have a very odd couple of sequences there during that, and then the whole thing hinges on a rat stepping on a button, which I think a lot of people are just letting that go and not saying much about. I don't care how it happens, but
No.
you know, a rat steps on a button in a storage device and lets Scott Lang out of the quantum realm. You know, Ant-Man does what Paul Rudd is. Paul Rudd is an angel descended down from heaven on all of us. You can tell because he doesn't age.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yes, he's an amazing human being, and he just brings happiness to everything.
You need to watch more Paul Rudd movies. He's not always that great.
I've watched almost every Paul Rudd movie, and if you have seen Halloween: The Revenge of Michael Myers, you cannot tell me that he is the best thing, because that is the best
You
horror
watched
movie
Our
of all
Idiot
time.
Brother, and you thought that shit was funny?
That one I missed. I guess I
Yeah,
haven't seen them
okay.
all.
All right.
But come on, Slap in the Abyss. He's awesome.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Now I like Paul Rudd too, but Jesus, man.
well, what did you think of the device to get everything back? Because essentially they're saying, okay, there are no more stones. We have to get stones. Let's time travel to get stones. Back to the
Yeah, I
future.
mean, we kind of knew this is how it was going to have to be, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there are only so many different ways for them to set things back on the right course. You had to get the stones or you don't. We kind of knew there was always going to be this time travel aspect to it. We knew during production that they were revisiting 2012's The Avengers, the
Right.
Battle in New York, and stuff like that. I don't think we knew the specifics of everywhere they were going to go, though.
Mhm.
And one of the things I actually enjoyed the most was how it was this movie that rewards you for having watched all 21 movies.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
this movie takes you back. I mean, this movie makes Thor: The Dark World relevant.
Yeah.
A movie
That's
that is the most
comment I'm
the
hearing
most,
a lot.
most boring and most just flavorless movie in the entire Marvel universe.
Right.
You know, it makes that movie seem relevant. It takes you back to the Winter Soldier.
Mhm.
It takes you back to a lot of places. Makes you look at things from a slightly different angle too, because we saw like a little bit more of what happened after.
Which
the
is
fight,
what I thought was
Battle
the
of New
coolest
York.
part, is seeing these at different angles on something you're familiar with, you know.
Yep.
Like the explanation for why Loki has a muzzle on at the end of Avengers,
Yeah.
which we never got. I mean, you could figure why, but
But one of my favorite scenes, and I don't want to talk about too much about favorite scenes. I want to talk about one in particular that I really enjoyed. Was because it's probably kind of a little bit more unassuming. I really loved the conversation between Banner and the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton.
that was really
I
cool.
thought that was such a
Unexpectedly cool,
really
yeah.
well done scene and such a crucial scene for the entire movie
Mhm.
because it all hinges on her.
Yeah.
And you know, and she was my favorite part of Doctor Strange. I don't think that movie's great. It's okay, but she was my favorite part of it. And seeing her come back and still being the character that she was, they handled her perfect.
Yeah.
And the steps that she takes in letting this plan come to fruition, I think, are probably some of the smartest writing in the entire movie.
Yeah, and that shows the Russo brothers and what are their names? Something McFeely, the screenwriters.
Stephen McFeely and Christopher Marcus. Is
Marcus and McFeely, yeah. That shows the level of skill that they have, because one of your favorite scenes in the movie, and one of a lot of people's favorite scenes in the movie, is pure exposition that's really needed to make everything okay in this time travel scenario. Something that should usually be a boring bit that you have to get through, and they make it one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
And they do so in such a way that you're glad it happened. And I mean, I thought one of the coolest things about this was that they brought, I mean, you basically just said it, but that they brought all these people back. You know, the reward, I'm just going to basically say exactly what you just said, the reward factor for being with
Always
them for
biting
10
off me,
years.
man.
I know, I can't help it. The reward factor for being with them 10 years. I mean, one of my favorite scenes in the movie was in the Battle of New York when Cap steps onto the elevator. And, you know, it's not the same elevator from Winter Soldier, but it's the same exact scenario. And you know, whether it was just a joke, I don't know if they would have written this before or after that whole, what was that the comic storyline that ended up with Cap saying Hail Hydra that everybody hated.
Oh yeah, God, that was terrible.
Secret Wars or whatever.
Secret Society or something like
Yeah.
that. I don't know.
So
it was bad.
Yeah, they have like a tongue-in-cheek reference to that.
Yeah.
I mean, and Cap even gets a chance to make fun of his own cheesy sayings, like "I could do this all day." You know, it's
Yeah,
the way they
that was great
revisit
stuff.
and give you this extra shot of what's going on. It was really really cool.
Yeah,
liked
like
it
I
a
said,
lot.
they managed to make it a movie for people who have been kind of dedicated to them from the beginning, and it's this sort of walk down memory lane. Just a reminder, like one final reminder is like, yeah, we've been fucking awesome for a long time,
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
I would say they've been awesome for about 5 years.
Right.
I still think the first few years of Marvel's cinematic universe are quite shaky. It's funny, right before I left here, Captain America: The Winter Soldier was on TV.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so I
love
was
that
watching
movie.
it in the background while I was doing some other stuff, and I was like, we're being reminded, and I was telling my roommate, I was like, this was the first Marvel movie for me where it
Yeah.
turned the page.
Everybody
Like,
gives
where
Kevin
it
Feige
got better.
all the praise, but really Feige for the overarching vision, obviously. But what made it what it is today is the Russo brothers. There's no question there, because as soon as they
Oh,
come
yeah.
in with Winter
Yep, 'cause
Soldier,
they
it
did that one
changes
too.
everything.
Yep.
Now I'm not exactly with you there. I love the original Iron Man. Iron Man 2 is one of my favorites. The
You're
first
the
years to
only
me,
person to ever say that.
Dude, I love War Machine, and I had to kind of let go
Like,
of
I don't.
my love for War Machine because
I'm not gonna fight you.
he's been really an
Terrence
afterthought.
Howard or Don Cheadle, War Machine.
Oh, Don
Could you
Cheadle.
imagine Terrence Howard if he was still playing War
I
Machine?
can't stand how he always sounds like he's about to cry. He's always.
Could you imagine War Machine now if Terrence Howard was
No,
still playing him?
he's too soft looking.
I don't think it would work.
It wouldn't.
I don't
It
think
really
so.
wouldn't. Don Cheadle's has the perfect response to Tony Stark's sarcasm and everything like that, because he's kind of more. I don't know. Terrence Howard, he always just seems like he's about to cry to me. Which
I like how he's also War Machine. Jim Rhodes also kind of turned it a little bit of a dick in
Yeah.
the last couple of movies.
Yeah, he did.
Like early on, he was always kind of because he was this normal guy amongst all these like superheroes,
Right,
And then
right.
in this one, he's like, "Hey, normal sized guy,"
Yeah. Yeah.
Or in the previous film where he's like tricking what's his name to bow to T'Challa.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
all this stuff that he probably would have been the victim of before.
Right.
He's now doing it to others.
And it's funny because you kind of see the progression of that, because like in Age of Ultron, when he's still kind of normal guy trying to be a superhero, and he's walking around telling his story to everybody, and the
Yeah.
superheroes don't laugh. Next
That
time you
was
see Age of
funny.
Ultron, look for that. That's pretty
That was
funny. But
which I got a new appreciation of that movie watching it
yeah,
last week when we had our Avengers marathon.
right.
I got a new appreciation for Age of Ultron. It's still not a great movie. It's still probably the least effective of
Right.
the 4 Avengers movies, but it's not bad.
Well,
It's not bad. It's
what
actually
changed
pretty
it
good.
for you? What do you mean?
It sets up so much.
Yeah, I mean,
It
Vision,
sets up a lot of pieces in that movie.
Tony and
we
Cap's
see
thing,
we
yeah.
see Tony's vision, for of the future. We actually see a flash of the Infinity Gauntlet,
Right.
At one point in one of his visions,
And-
we see a lot of things that are the groundwork is laid in that movie.
If I'm not mistaken, most of those visions come to pass in one way or another.
Yeah.
They were basically pretty hardline spoilers back then, and nobody really knew it.
Well, we always knew that the Infinity War was coming. We knew that from the first Avengers movie. So
Right.
you saw Thanos. There was nowhere else it was going to go.
Oh yeah, no, I mean more like Thor seeing all the dead Asgardians all around him. Cap, where he was. I don't know how much we're going to spoil. See, I wanted to spoil the shit out of this movie,
We're not gonna
but
spoil
now
We're not going to spoil.
Travis has guilted
specifics
me
like that.
into not wanting to spoil
We're not going to
everything about
spoil
the movie.
specifics like that. You don't need to know what happened to Cap.
Yeah.
Most of you. Let's remind everybody.
Yeah. $1.2
the movie made
billion
$1.2 billion. There's a good chance you have already seen it.
Yeah, and if not,
So, and
it's
if
Sunday
not-
afternoon around the time of the last matinee. So
Yeah.
if you're probably in there watching it right now. If
Right.
not,
So I mean, nobody. There's probably nobody here that hasn't already seen Endgame. You know what we're talking about. So it was as if we were hiding that. So
Right.
you've probably already seen
all right.
it.
Well, without trying to spoil, we talked off air earlier about the best moment in this movie, which will stand as one of the most fist pump worthy moments of all time in movies, and will stand that way for a long time. What was the second? What was the second moment in this movie that was like, all right, this is what it's all about right here?
Well, we didn't tell them what that first moment was. We told it to each other.
Well, am I spoiling or not?
Oh, well, I mean, how come we can spoil the one but not spoil the other?
That's true. Okay, so
It
yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
spoiler alert again. So there's when Thanos first shows up through a bunch of different events that we won't go into. He shows up at Avengers Mansion. They lay waste to the facility with the spaceships, and then our 3 main heroes that are there, Cap, Iron Man, and Thor, walk out to confront him. Big battle takes place, and they basically hold their own for about a minute, but then get their asses kicked. Thor is pinned down. He's got Stormbreaker. Thanos is pushing Stormbreaker into his chest to the point that
my
I
God.
was worried about Thor for a minute. Like it cuts through his armor, and it's definitely penetrating skin. And then all of a sudden you just hear, ping!
And I know that I think they probably shot that scene so it was reminiscent of the scene from Saving Private Ryan, which is the scene, the scene where Adam Goldberg is facing that one shoulder one-on-one.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he has
yeah.
the knife.
Right, yeah.
I think they designed that scene to be reminiscent of that. I think that was intentional.
Now that you mentioned it, it is almost
It is
exactly.
almost exactly it.
movement-wise,
I think
yeah.
they did that on purpose.
Yeah, so you hear Thanos goes flying. You don't know what's going on. Then you see Mjolnir flies back to the hand of the person who launched it, and that person is Captain America. And Captain America's holding Mjolnir. Lightning shoots. It's just, oh man,
it is insane. It is insane. And like I mentioned to you earlier, it's insane how much better he is with Mjolnir than Thor is.
Yeah,
like he's much better. Like Thor shouldn't get it back. Like he should never be allowed to have it back.
He's definitely more suited to a giant axe than a tactical weapon like a hammer.
Yeah. What did you think about that big fight scene though? The overall.
I mean, it was a
battle.
little muddled at some when it really gets. I mean, the other fist pump moment was just after that, when you have Captain America basically facing down the entire Thanos army by himself, and just you're pretty much thinking, okay, this is it. Cap's done. He's gonna go out like a hero, and then you hear, Cap, can you read me? And then you hear on your left, and then just the influx of everybody we knew, and it's just such a amazing moment. But then
every character who's ever in the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
literally,
comes out, including Dr. Selvig. Dr. Selvig comes out holding a big.
Did he?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
he did not come out there. That would been ridiculous.
I'm sitting here thinking, why would he come out?
That'd be ridiculous. No, he did not come out.
Everybody comes out, and there's this huge
Whiplash
fight.
was there.
Now you're just confusing me, because that's what I'm saying is there's so much going on. Like I can remember little bits, like Spider-Man's instant kill mode was funny. I remember seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp fight together, and one of the coolest things during it, especially for the female members of the audience, is you get to see a couple minutes of the female Avengers, where basically all the female heroes grouped together. What's that?
I didn't like that scene so much.
No, it seemed a little forced, to be honest with you. But
it was pandering.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. And look, I appreciate what they were doing there. There's a couple of things that they did that were pandering that I don't like, and I'll talk about the other one in a second, because it actually kind of made me mad. And we talked about that yesterday at AwesomeCon too, a little bit. But yeah, that seemed like shameless pandering.
Yeah.
So there's this one scene where like all the females gather together, and like I guess they're kind of like going to turn the tide, like they're coming to protect somebody. I think it was Captain Marvel, who had to get to the other end of the battlefield, and all the women got together. They like all, she'll be fine. She has us.
We got her back.
We got her back. All the way, including Pepper Potts in her suit
as rescue, which is no explanation
as
given,
rescue,
except for like 10 seconds earlier in the movie.
I don't care about that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
There's no time to explain.
She's flown that as Iron Man before,
yeah.
So it was fine. But the scene felt forced. It did not feel needed.
Right.
And then they proceeded to not really do all that much.
No.
Because honestly, Captain Marvel could have done what she did anyway.
That's what my thought was.
Which was just fly straight through. Yeah. I mean, they didn't have to do anything, so they were kind of pointless. The other scene that seemed like a shameless pandering to me was early on. This was pretty much immediately after that death we were talking about early on. And Marvel's been getting too much credit for this, and they shouldn't get any credit at all. They should get zero credit. They should get negative credit. When co-director Joe Russo plays a guy in the support group. Yeah. And Captain America's there, and he plays this guy who is openly gay. Mm-hmm. He kind of mentions offhand that he's went on a date with this man, and and proceeds to talk about it. Blah blah blah. And Marvel's been getting all this credit for Marvel finally introduces their first openly gay character, and I'm just like, not really though. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's a guy who's gay, and he had a line in the movie, and we will never see him again.
Well, actually, we probably will, because the thing
the
that
Russos aren't making any more movies.
One of the things that bothered me about it was you never have the same character, the same person playing different characters in these movies. And Joe Russo was front and center in The Winter Soldier as in Civil War as the scientist or whatever that Nemo was fronting around as. Zemo and Nemo. And then he's in this again, front and center. And the thing about that is, I think it's a step in the right direction, but it wasn't. You mentioned it being offhand, but it's not even offhand.
It's not even a step in the right direction. It's just nothing. It's less than nothing. Probably 99% of people didn't even notice it, and if they did, they could care less. It doesn't matter until you introduce a character that everybody wants to see. Everybody's going to be paying to watch.
Yeah, superhero.
It doesn't really.
Right,
it does not matter until then. Yeah. You could argue that the character played by Julius Ota in Spider-Man: Homecoming, the African American kid, you could argue that his character, 'cause in the comics, he's gay, I believe. You could argue that he's the first character.
Wait, who is in
Julius Ona? Not Julius Ona. What is the kid? I can't remember his name.
Who
He's
did he
in
play in
Spider-Man
Homecoming?
He's one of Peter Parker's friends, classmates.
Okay, so it's not
He's
even a big part by-
he's not a
yeah.
major character either.
Mhm.
But in the comics, I believe he's gay.
Right.
But either or. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Marvel doesn't deserve credit for this, in my opinion, until they have a hero that is openly gay, which they're
Right.
supposed to be doing probably with the Eternals movie. That's probably when they'll do it. But I kind of take, I don't know if I take offense to it. I'm just kind of like annoyed by all the articles I've seen written about giving Marvel credit
Right.
for this, and I'm like, this is not them taking some active step. And then the Russos are like, oh yeah, I wanted to make sure how important it was, so I played the role myself, and I was gonna like,
Well, if you want to
Come
show how
on, dude.
important it was, why didn't you introduce Valkyrie with the girlfriend when they showed New Asgard or something like that? They've already pretty much said that she's bi at least,
that would have been a move.
Yeah.
That would have been a move.
And they had a perfect opportunity.
That
but
would have
they
been a
didn't
move.
do it.
Yeah, that would have. You're absolutely right. That would have been a move to make,
Mhm.
to have her be with a woman or something like that. That would have been a move to make. This shameless thing they did, I thought was just nah.
Well, another thing
Didn't
I
do
don't like
anything.
about that stuff is you absolutely need representation. If Black
Yep.
Panther taught us, I mean, some of the reactions I've heard, I never, as a suburban white guy, I've never really understood the importance of representation because it's always been there for me.
You're
I've never-
always represented.
Yeah, I'm always represented. But when I heard
They make movies for you before they make anybody.
right, exactly, and
anybody
that's what I
else.
mean. And so therefore, I've
This is
never
why we hate-
understood.
this is why we hate you.
I've never understood the reasoning for it. I know, but hearing some of the firsthand reactions to like Black Panther really kind of opened my eyes to that. And I think one of the main things I want them to do when they're going for representation of the LGBT community or whatever. I didn't know how many letters I was supposed to keep going. You'll have to forgive me.
Yeah. You totally trumped that one. It's LGBTQ.
I didn't know if the Q was always on there, but forgive me. But I think one of the things they have to do is they have to introduce that character, and they have to not make it an afterthought, but also not make it all about that. Because to me, that always seems like it's pandering
Right.
too. If it's like, I'm a gay superhero. No, you're a superhero who happens to be gay, and you're just the same as everybody else, and you're just fighting the same.
Yes,
as
well, that's what
everybody
we
else.
always. That's what the struggle's always for, right? It's to have something like that not be to the point where you have to mention it all the time.
Yeah,
it should be the norm.
That's the goal of equality, is
And to
that
not make
everybody's
it
who they
seem
are.
and to not make it seem as if it's something special or other.
Right.
That's the goal. I don't think the way to do that is by doing it the way Marvel just did it.
No.
In Endgame. Now, of course, nobody's going to not go see Endgame because
Yeah,
of
right.
that. In fact, most
you
people
imagine?
probably don't even remember that scene
Yeah.
anymore.
If they only remember
So-
it probably for the reason that it's so front and center with Joe Russo that it's impossible not to know, and he's become, he's not Chris Evans recognizable, but their faces have been everywhere.
I don't know his sexuality, so I don't know if he's gay or not in real life.
Oh,
but
I mean, it could be.
He could be. I really have no idea.
Oh no, you know what? He's not because. Well, I mean, I guess this. Say this.
interviewed him
I was
twice.
about to show my ignorance completely on Front Street. I was about to say no, he's not because he's got a daughter. But, you forgive me there again. But yeah, no, it's never really been addressed that I know of. But it's
I
so
really
on
don't
Front Street
know.
because it's
And
him.
I've interviewed him twice, and I don't think
I've
I don't-
only
it's-
interviewed
it's-
him once.
It's never come up. Like it's not something that in interviews I usually don't bring up. Shit
Yeah,
like
well, it
that.
wouldn't come up. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Yeah. So, so I've never really thought about it, but it seems like that would have been a good time to cast.
I don't think he
A
is
gay
though,
actor.
just because the way that you said he was like, it felt like it was important, so I wanted to play it myself. It doesn't seem like the way a gay man would handle that scene. They probably would have done it something more like what you're talking about.
I would have liked to have seen them cast a gay actor in that role. Then, if
Yeah.
they wanted to make a big deal about it,
But outside
Which
of the
they could've
realm
done.
of that, of the politics isn't the right word, but whatever you want to say of the movie, there's the final battle scene where you have so much stuff going on. I only remember about 3 or 4 direct interactions, and I could have stood for maybe making that scene 10 minutes longer, maybe cutting down all the extra scenes prior to that, and making that scene 10 minutes longer and having a sequence where it's focusing in like maybe a quick cut camera onto different areas of the battle where you get to see everybody for a good 15, 30 seconds and get to see them battling together. Because one of the coolest things about these team up is seeing the way they fight together. Seeing Thor and Cap, Thor shoot or Iron Man shoot repulsor beams off of Cap's shield, seeing the Wasp and Ant-Man, them throwing each other into stuff and all that.
Yeah.
I think that's the coolest part, and I don't feel like we got too much of that. Oh, and I did want to jump back to we talked about how they revisit certain points.
Not gay.
Oh, he's not.
No.
We talk about how
they couldn't have cast a gay actor to play that role.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, he obviously likes putting himself in there, and it was a scene with a lot of screen time that wouldn't affect anything, so that's probably where he saw his chance to be in there.
Yeah.
But there's
It's like Shyamalan putting himself in his own movies.
Exactly. So we know they go back and visit these different times in MCU history, and I thought of all the places they went, one of my favorites to watch was the Guardians of the Galaxy Open. We go back to when he's getting the Power Stone, and if you guys remember, it's Star-Lord dancing through with his headphones on, and in Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, the music's thundering overhead, so we see him dancing and it's all cool looking. But in this one, we see it from the outside, so it's just him singing to himself and dancing around an alien planet. I thought that was genius. Yeah. That was hilarious.
That was a great scene. There's a lot of great moments in this movie. I mean, I've been telling people after about the first hour and 15 minutes, don't even think about going to the bathroom.
Right.
Like, don't bother. Once the plot really kicks in and you get into the whole traveling back in time, there's no room for breaks.
Yeah.
There's no room for breaks.
I mean, even the ones that weren't that great, like for the most part, the one I'm talking about would be the one you'd want to skip. But if you skip near the end of it, you miss a very, very important plot piece.
I wouldn't skip any of it.
Well, yeah, if you had to.
I wouldn't skip any of it.
I mean, if you have diarrhea, you got to go at some point, you know.
What did you have that gave you diarrhea that you're at the movie?
I didn't say I had diarrhea.
If you had diarrhea beforehand, don't go. If you
I was just running down the hallway. It's the end game.
If you got diarrhea during the movie, then you should be complaining to somebody at the movie theater.
That's true. Diarrhea aside, yeah, I mean, there really isn't a good place to leave. But one thing that happens in this mid part that, again, we won't spoil it, but except to say that there's a death.
We've been very odd with our
yes, we're all over the place with these spoilers. There's a death in the middle of the movie that I, for one, had no clue was coming.
Okay, now that death is the one that I think no one will be prepared for.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of steeled ourselves for the possible death of a couple of people.
But not this person.
But no, not this person.
Wait, so you were as surprised as I?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and so...
Absolutely.
Shit, now I can't talk about the rest of what I want to say without giving away who that person is, but there are certain things that we heard beforehand.
They did that to Korg.
I know. You know, he made it out of Thanos, and then Meek has to live by himself without Korg the rest of his life.
What the fuck is Meek going to do by himself?
He's just going to roll around. He's like a worm, right? So,
yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, there's some very big questions with some pretty obvious answers that come with that. But I mean, it was just there's a very surprising death in the middle that I feel bad about, because I feel like because of everything that happened after it, somebody really big is gone and did not get any of the attention for it that they really deserved, especially from the fans afterwards. Yeah. Nobody's talking about this one. Really, it's overshadowed like shit afterwards.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I agree with that. No, I don't know if I agree with that, because like I said before, I think most people have kind of prepared themselves for the movie to end a certain way,
right? For
a couple of characters.
Yeah,
not saying that happens,
right?
But I think people are preparing themselves for a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one that nobody was able to prepare themselves for. I think people are actually still kind of shocked about it.
You think that's why they're not bringing it up, because they're still kind of shocked about it?
I've heard more people bring that one up because of what I just said, because no one saw it coming.
Yeah, I was, so. and it had to be the same. I mean, we all know that the Soul Stone requires a sacrifice, but they did the same thing with Good Gamora, but longer, where they just stay focused in on it. You see blood, and you see it's just cut quicker, man. That hurts my feelings.
No, they did it. They did that exactly how they were supposed to do it.
Worst part of the movie,
because there's a rule in Marvel: if you don't see a body, they're not.
That's
dead.
true. That's true.
They're not dead. They made sure in both those cases that you saw it. This person is gone.
And they even do something. They do something that they'll need to do for future sequels of another movie, and they do so in a way that makes it so this death can't be retconned either. Well, I don't know why I'm jumping around all this stuff. So Gamora is back at the end of the movie, and she's not brought back by anything else. She's brought back because there's a past version of Thanos and Gamora and all them that come into it, and that's the version of Gamora we have in. So the Gamora we saw die in Infinity War stays dead. I mean, she's not back. So,
right,
that means that the other one's not going to come back either, and it kind of sucks a little bit.
Well, look, without going any further than we just did.
I don't know how much further I can go.
I mean, this movie sets up some interesting things for the future.
Yeah. As Guardians.
The next
of the
movie
Galaxy.
is Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Mm-hmm.
They've described it as an epilogue. What I'm hearing now is that that story is probably going to take place before Endgame does.
What?
Yeah, which means it would have to have taken place before Infinity War as well, most likely.
Right.
It would have to have taken place before Infinity War, obviously. So that's what I'm hearing, because
Weren't they just saying a month ago
it
that it
doesn't
wasn't?
make sense any other way.
Yeah. Well, that's
If you think about how this one ended,
right.
what they did to bring those people back, it would not make sense for it to take place when it does after.
Yeah, and
It
well, that
has
was
to
one of my
take place
biggest
before Infinity
problems
War.
with the. I mean, the logic.
Which,
It's a time travel movie. You're gonna
To
have
me,
logic
it makes it
problems.
feel like one of those Marvel fill-in issues I used to hate so much as a kid.
Yeah, like the what ifs.
No, not even like the what ifs. They were Marvel would do these, because Marvel was different back then,
Yeah.
back in the in the 80s and 90s. If a writer got behind, or an artist usually their artist got behind,
Mm-hmm.
they would break into the middle of a storyline with a fill-in issue,
Oh.
written by the writer, usually drawn by somebody else, and it wouldn't have anything to do with the current storyline. It would just be like this random story
Right.
that they would just throw in, and it would just be like just basically a stopgap issue.
Yeah.
And I hated those stories because they very rarely had any impact on anything. They were just they fucked up the flow of everything.
Yeah. So now you're
And
waiting an
that's
extra
the
week.
way.
for your yeah.
That's the way. Far From Home is feeling like already for me.
Yeah.
If they have to go back and shove it in to a place pre-Infinity War, we're all looking ahead now
yeah.
to what's next, and you're going to take us backwards.
Yeah. Well, I think we can kind of highlight the reasoning for our problem with that without giving too much away, and that's because everybody knows everybody comes back eventually. But the thing that everybody didn't expect is going to happen is that it doesn't go back to before the snap. There's 5 years that have passed of a decimated world, and these people are just inserted into. Let's not even talk about the major.
That's like the whole thing I was trying to not say, and you just
Oh.
went and said it.
So-
I went out of my way to not
Well,
talk
I know,
about
but I'm saying,
that
how can we
aspect
not?
of it.
Yeah.
And then you just went
I mean, that's
and
not
said
even the most major spoiler, really.
Yes,
and
that's
that's why I was saying.
that's like the biggest spoiler almost.
Oh, well, I ruined it. Sorry.
I'm okay with certain spoilers, but I was like, obviously,
We should have had a pre-show meeting about where
obviously,
not to go.
I was not trying to say exactly what happened.
Well, yeah, but the reason I bring that up is
Whatever,
that
it's fine.
is
It's
that
done.
for Spider-Man: Far From Home, it doesn't make sense of what's going to happen. You know what I mean? It doesn't. It almost has to be the insert issue like you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I think that sucks, and I think that's the wrong way to do it. They should have either released that movie sooner or written a different story.
Yeah. Well, and they couldn't release it sooner because
So-
if they released it before Endgame, it would have had to take place after Infinity War. So, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. So we have what else is confirmed for after?
The only thing
Spider-Man.
the only thing that's literally confirmed is Spider-Man: Far From Home, which comes out in July. Nothing else is confirmed. Nothing else is greenlit, and we already know that a Black Widow movie is happening.
Right.
We know there will be a Black Panther 2 and a Doctor Strange 2.
Nothing's in pre-production already. Nothing's.
But none of those
already-
things have been officially greenlit.
Right.
You're probably not going to hear anything about those until either Comic-Con or D23 later this year.
Mm-hmm.
So, but nothing else is officially greenlit.
So it sounds like we're going on a kind of hiatus, just like Star Wars did. Because I mean, these things take a year and a half to be made and finalized and put together.
Yeah, and we also know Eternals. Eternals will be one of those. There's a Shang-Chi movie that's coming out as well. We don't know when that'll go into production. So,
Eternals is
you-
probably the furthest along the line, right? Because they've announced the Angelina Jolie casting, so they're
couple
casting
people.
that and getting
Nick
that ready for
Kumail
pre-production.
Nanjiani is in that too.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah. I mean, so yeah, they got things that we know are coming. They just haven't put them on the schedule yet, really.
Right.
So, I don't know. I don't know what's.
Yeah,
I don't
it's-
know what the MCU is going to look like. And so, what happens now when we get time to do, or if they even decide to do one, a major team up movie? Will there be another Avengers movie? Probably not.
Yeah.
Marvel's never gone beyond 3 with any of their franchises.
Is that true?
Nothing's gone beyond 3.
Oh yeah, Captain America was just Winter Soldier Civil. Wow.
Nothing's gone beyond 3.
Well, I mean, they have to eventually have another Avengers movie, whether it's
No,
New
no, they
Avengers or
don't.
something like that.
I mean,
And when a movie makes $1.2 billion in a weekend, they're going to have another team up movie.
No, okay, but they don't have to call it Avengers.
Oh, well, maybe
could
it'll be
call
New
it-
Avengers, Young Avengers, or
They might not even have to do that. They could just call it whatever the title of that storyline is. They don't necessarily have to call it the Avengers.
but it's still the team up movie for the Marvel
Yeah.
superhero team up movie.
Yeah.
And that's the takeaway I have from everything is that, and the depression I had setting in after I left, that will only be matched tonight after the Battle of Winterfell and Game of Thrones.
I can't wait.
Is that it's really an ending. Like it did well. I mean, were you satisfied with the way all those storylines were wrapped up? They got wrapped up.
I was very satisfied with I think the two. Look, this movie is very focused on the 6 original Avengers.
Mhm.
Okay, I think the way the story wrapped up for all 6 Avengers was done very well, especially the main 2, Cap
Yeah.
and Iron Man.
Yeah.
I think their stories were. I think they got both of those exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very happy with that.
And in a surprising way too. Like I don't think one of them for sure, not the other one, but one of them for sure I didn't expect to go that way. And when it happens, I was like, you know what? This doesn't suck as bad as it could have to be losing, to be ending out a movie like this, and I'm actually okay with it. It worked.
I was waiting for you to just say it. What happened?
Well, I mean, I told you at the beginning. So
don't say it.
you're all
Yeah,
bent
don't
now
say
because I spoiled.
Yeah,
the
I
thing.
know. I was waiting for you to do it. I think it teases a couple interesting things. A very interesting next move for the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see where that goes next.
Yeah.
Because remember that's the 3rd movie for their franchise too. So I don't know where that's going to go, but I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see because after Ragnarok did so well and reinvigorated Thor, I mean, and Taika Waititi's already said he's open to doing another Thor Ragnarok. So will Thor be rule of 3 too? Will there not be another Thor solo outing? They've said no, but kind of seems like there should be or would be.
I mean, if there was one that would, it would be Thor because this Thor Ragnarok was so popular.
Right.
But I also have a feeling that probably not.
Yeah.
I have a feeling like they've decided somewhere internally that 3 movies is probably where they're going to go for these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are other ways to keep characters around.
In one way, you just want it to keep going forever, but on the other way, that it can't.
As we
it's gotta
see
stop.
at the end of this movie, there are other ways to keep characters active
Mhm.
without giving them other movies. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So before we get ready to get out of here,
Yeah.
you brought up the Battle of Winterfell.
Yes.
I asked a friend this question before I walked in. That's what I was doing in the car. We were talking about Game of
Oh, yeah.
Thrones. Who's going to die tonight?
Brianna Tarth, number 1.
Why does everybody keep saying that? She ain't dying.
You don't get knighted in a tearful scene with your love and then get shown on the front
If
lines
there
of
is
the
going
battle.
to be, I know this is Game of Thrones and beacons of hope are very, very rare.
Yeah.
But if there's going to be one, and I do think there will be one, she will be it.
I hope you're right because honestly, for a long time,
She's been my favorite character the entire time. So.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
We'll have to get into that more next
I
week
love
then
Brianna-
because
I love Brianna
that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
But Grey Worm, unfortunately, or Missandei.
One of them is definitely toast.
Yeah,
At
I mean,
least.
they
They're
literally
already
did the "I'm retiring next
Yeah,
week."
I know.
move.
They already
Yeah.
did the where are we going to vacation after this war? It's like
Right. I mean, I think the most surprising people that will die. I mean, Theon is probably done for too.
Yep. Jorah Mormont.
I really like the theory.
Jorah's dead.
Jorah's probably dead too. I really like the theory that I'm hearing that and I don't think it's correct, but that it's all an okey doke, and the Night King is actually on his way down to King's Landing. Because my big problem with the timeline of all this is we're on episode 3 of 6, so we have 3 episodes after this to wrap everything up. Cersei has the Golden Company and a full army down there. After the Battle of Winterfell, no matter how well it goes, Daenerys and Jon's armies are not going to be at full strength. There's no way they take off on the Golden Company and win. So the theory I'm hearing that Night King goes down there, lays siege to Winterfell, turns the Golden Company to whites, and whoever's left over has to fight to end up. I like that theory, but it could go any way. I'm not sure.
I'm convinced that everyone in the crypt will die.
That I'm hearing that too. Do you think it'll be because the old Starks come back to life in the crypts?
I've heard that theory as well, and
Yeah.
I would not be surprised. But I'm hoping. But like I told somebody else, I feel like because there's such a limited amount of time,
Yeah.
I feel like that is one of those things that if it happens, it's like this whole new thing.
Right.
Like this whole new obstruction that would add too much.
Yeah.
And I think so. I think if it doesn't happen, it's for that reason. Like it's like, yeah, we can only do but so much. We can't just have every.
That's the thing
So
about these theories
that's
is
the
you
one
got to
thing.
remember that
There's a limited amount of time here.
to pull a quote from the movie we've been talking about. We're in the end game now. I mean, there's no time to start new threads.
So
But
that means my girl Gilly, she's probably gonna eat it.
they really
I'm hoping
do her ugly makeup up for that show. Have you seen her in anything else?
I like her.
She's a beautiful woman in some other stuff.
Yeah, she was in Detroit.
Yep.
She's in a movie that I love called God Help the Girl. She's a really good actress.
She is,
and I'm hoping that Liana Mormont does not go down there.
I'm hearing everybody is saying she's going to die. I mean, and
I don't want her down there.
a really good point was brought to me. I told Angela, I was like, they can't kill Liana. She's a kid. She was like, well, what'd they do to little Ned Unber in the last episode? I was like, yeah,
kids
that's
die
totally
in Game of
true.
Thrones all the time.
They burnt one at the stake, for God's sake.
Kids die all the time. They killed a rack of babies.
Yeah.
In like one episode.
That's true.
Kids die all the time. Look, if she dies, I'll be upset, but I will not be shocked.
No, I won't be shocked.
I just
either.
don't want it to happen. I want her to be forceful and not go.
Now the
But at the
previews
same
for
time,
this,
like I was telling my friend, I was like, she usually gets her way because she's forceful.
Yeah.
And because she's in charge. This will be the one time where she doesn't get what she doesn't. She actually gets taken down there. Like they take her down there.
Yeah.
She can't physically stop them from taking her down there.
Yeah, that's
they
true.
actually take her down there, and it ends up being a mistake.
I didn't even think about it like that. Oh my God! But at least they'll have somebody to fight. But okay, the last thing, and then we'll cut out for the day. All the previews have shown a very ominous scene of Arya running through what looks like the darkened halls of Winterfell, scared,
Yep.
looking behind her. Is Arya gonna bite it? No,
Not yet. And if she's going to at all, it won't be now.
I don't think so either. I hope not. For God's sake,
If she ends up dying, and I don't think she dies. I think she makes it out of this alive. But if she does die, it's going to be in battle against the Lannisters, not against the White Walkers.
Yeah, and I see. She's
Her
on,
fights with them.
She's on the top tier to make it to the end for me.
Yeah.
Her, Jon Snow, but I don't know. It's getting crazy, but that's a whole nother show. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. This weekend we have a special screening here at #Arena Room for Rent, the new movie by new movie with Lynn Shay, I should say. We'll be screening
Scream
here.
Queen, horror legend.
Yes,
Lynn Shay.
the amazing star of
For the Insidious movies.
Insidious movies, yeah. Am I the only one? My mind only goes to Kingpin every time as soon as I see her.
Yes.
I love her in that movie.
You are the only one whose mind goes to
She's
Kingpin.
always a standout, no matter what she's in. She'll be joining us after the movie for a Skype Q&A, so make sure to check it out and come on down and hang out with us.
That is this upcoming Saturday.
Saturday, yep.
May 4th, I believe.
May the 4th be
May
with
4th.
you. Yep.
I believe the show starts at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern. We'll be showing her movie Room for Rent, and we'll be doing a live Q&A with her.
Yeah.
With Lynn Shay. It should be a lot of fun. So you can look us up on the Facebook event.
Yep.
Look up Room for Rent. And we should put a link to it up on here as well.
Yeah, and we'll
actually.
put something in our Punch
We'll put a
Drunk
link up
Critics
here.
group as well. By the way,
Yep,
if you
Punch
guys,
Drunk Critics page.
have we even been plugging that? I'm not sure. For your day-to-day news, punchdrunkcritics.com for all your news and reviews. Check us out there. Travis writes every day. I'm not even going to say any more than I do, but I'll try to. But that's it for.
You had a pretty good streak going for a couple weeks.
Yeah, I'll get back to it. For Smash Cut, I'm John.
And I'm Travis.
We're out of here.
All right, later.